Hi there, friends. I'll come in here with a quick note to let you know that the first global Product Owner Summit organized by the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is coming soon. To know more, check out the bit.ly/Product Owner 2023. That's bit.ly/Product Owner 2023. That's all one word, all lowercase. And stick around to the end of the episode to know more. But for now, on to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Wednesday, the Leading Change episode this week with Daniel Westermayr. Hey, Daniel. Welcome back.
Hey, Vasco. So great being here.
Absolutely. It's great to have the opportunity to explore what might be potentially one of the largest areas of study for Scrum Masters, and that is, of course, change management or change leadership, as I like to call it. So we're going to dive into one of those change processes that you were involved with, Daniel. Talk us through the process as it happened, step by step, and then as you go, highlight for us the tools, the tips, the tricks, and the techniques you learned back then that you still apply today.
Mm-hmm. And maybe that connects to what I said earlier. And it's about working with data. What I always do, and when I say always, I mean literally always, is I collect data from day one. I want to know about the capability of the system in place. I collect data and I create forecasts so that people know what that means with regards to any kinds of due dates. I mean, when we're talking about roadmaps, I know that fixed roadmaps are not an ideal way to start, but people expect roadmaps in parts. So I'm not against roadmaps, but I want to create forecasts that will enable us a realistic viewpoint on how these dates are going to be. And what management can expect in terms of dates and quality and timelines. In the beginning, I feel it makes people slightly uncomfortable because we're just so used to all kinds of hopes or kind of projecting all kinds of hopes into the future. We'll get faster over time. We are learning, things will get better. I promise there's gonna be more people and we will be more productive once we have figured this thing out, and once our delivery pipeline is in a good state, then we will get faster. So, and data has no emotion. It just tells us the way things are right now. And over time, then I always find that I can make out trends, right? Okay, I see whenever these things happen, we're going to be slowed down, and this will mean that in the future. Data enables us also to create hypotheses and validate or invalidate them. So if there's one thing to take away from this podcast, please collect data, use data in your decision-making progress, because when your decision-making progress is based on assumptions or on opinions, then probably the highest paid opinion will be viewed as more valuable than yours.
So it's like Jim Barksdale, the client's opinion, or the senior developer's opinion, or whoever holds the room in the decision-making process.
Exactly.
Right?
And it's perfectly valid. Jim Barksdale of Netscape once famously said, if we have data, we'll go with data. If we have opinions, we'll go with mine. And that's perfectly valid. And maybe to help people a little bit, it's not much effort involved. The one thing that I always do, and maybe it connects a little bit with your NoEstimate book, Vasco, just count the work items, the product backlog items that you're able to finalize in one sprint. That's enough data to collect to give you a good forecast, to give you a good projection into the future. And I collect that, I list it, and I just put it in an Excel file and then map out a graph, and you're fine.
Absolutely. Now, of course, it's not necessarily easy, and I'm sure you have experienced that. It's not necessarily easy to convince others that even though you have data and they have opinions, that your data is somehow more indicative of the actual capability of the system than their opinion is. So I'm interested to understand, how do you introduce that? Because at least in my experience, it has been quite often the case that when I show data that goes against someone's belief, they will spend all of their time discrediting the data, never realizing that they are countering data with opinions.
Yeah, happens to me as well, but I still stick with it. And over time, as we're moving closer to the deadline, then probably the opinion or the belief will be more discredited than the data, because then it'll show the reality, right? And what's totally easy to find out if you have the systemic capability in terms of finalizing product backlog items per sprint, you'll have a projection that will tell you quite exactly, I might say, on where you will end up in any given moment in time. And you can then repeat it. I mean, the value in that forecast is not creating it once, it's creating it over time repeatedly, at least towards the end of each sprint that you have. And then you can present it at every review, let's say. So, and this is what I do. I present it at every review. At first, it makes people slightly uncomfortable. Then you're going to have a discussion about it. But when you're reaching the due date, and you can then in hindsight tell them, okay, you've had the information like 3 months ago and you chose not to act upon it. Can we now change our ways of working and use the data moving forward instead of retroactively justifying that it was right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, that is one approach, and it can definitely work when we wait it out, right? Like we collect the data, we do the forecast, we show the data to the stakeholders, and over time just come back to that and say, hey, this is what it looks like. And then at the end, eventually the data will show its value, right?
Yes.
And that is one strategy. Let's wait it out. But we also work with people that are just this close, like really close to changing their perspective, and we get objections from those people as well. And what they're asking for very often is really, convince me, give me reason to believe your perspective. Now we are talking about data regarding forecasting, or when are we going to be ready type of questions, but there is data for other things, like data for product behavior, right? If we don't have data about how a certain product is behaving, we don't know if what we did a few sprints ago is actually going to have or has actually had any impact on the product itself, right? So in your experience, Daniel, what have been the approaches, the arguments, the perspectives you have shared with your clients and your teams that has helped them to being on the fence to go straight into, yes, okay, we can use this data?
So the one thing that I wanted to mention before is when you have data in terms of like, and any forecast will do, it'll give you information how to act when you have still time, as opposed to like, and I mean, everybody probably has that a similar experience, like, okay, we're green, and all of a sudden we're red, but there is no time left to change anything. You can just wait on running into the wall. So that is the first thing, that when I'm asking, okay, what went wrong in the past that you would like to change, then what people typically tell me is like, oh, I wish I had that information earlier, right? That things won't work out, that we are not able to keep that date. It's like, here you go. Here you got the data and it is earlier. Now can we work on with this? And the other thing in terms of like data is, I always love to work not in requirements, but in hypotheses, because just by framing this differently, it'll show the humility that you just don't know. You may have an idea, you may have an educated guess on if we now put this feature into production, users will behave this way and we will gain more traction or whatever, but you just don't know. And if you're framing this as an active hypothesis, I believe that if we are delivering this feature, these things are going to happen. First of all, what's interesting is like you have a conversation, okay, what are these good things that are going to happen? And if you're not clear on what outcome you'll generate by delivering this feature, it's probably not a good feature anyways. But also, if you're having a hypothesis in terms of your outcome, all of a sudden it'll be interesting, how much money would you place on a bet that it'll generate this outcome in reality? Could we just do a smaller piece of it and validate whether that assumption is a good idea or not?
Absolutely. So, and that conversation can be extremely valuable because, for example, we might want to try out a different idea for the product with a paper prototype instead of developing it for 5 months and then discovering that it doesn't work.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And these are just some of the ways in which data can help us be more rational and sane about making product decisions. Thank you for sharing that, Daniel.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for the great questions, Rashko.
Hi there, Agile friends. Thank you for sticking around. This year's first global summit dedicated to the product owner role in Scrum will have some amazing keynotes and 2 tracks filled with first-hand stories and experiences for product owners to learn more about that critical Scrum role. We'll have Roman Pichler, author and product expert, who will be answering your questions and sharing the most important aspects of the product owner role. We'll also have Colleen Johnson talking about why roadmaps are probably making your life much harder than it needs to be, and what to do instead. This talk was quite a success in Agile Online Summit 2022, and Colleen has learned some new tricks, tools, techniques that she will share with us when it comes to roadmaps for the product owner role. And we will also have Henrik Nyberg, author of Scrum and Kanban from the Trenches, as well as one of the creators of the Spotify model. So come in and listen to his stories. And we'll also have, of course, 2 tracks with many more sessions and even some live sessions. The 2 tracks will cover practices every product owner should know, where we'll be hosting conversations on topics that product owners need to be familiar with, like backlog refinement, planning, and much more. The second track will be on metrics, measuring product and personal success as a product owner. As product owners, it's crucial to have a clear understanding of what are the metrics that drive success for us, and of course also for the products and businesses that we work with, and we need to continuously measure and optimize those metrics. So in this track, we'll be sharing what's working and what's not in the area of measuring success for product owners. We will also have the opportunity to network with our peers. It's a network event, of course, so get your tickets and join our Slack. Go to bit.ly/product owner 2023. That's all one word, all lowercase. As always, we will have free tickets and VIP tickets, which will give you long-term access to the content of this summit. So check them out at bit.ly/product owner 2023. All lowercase, all one word. I'll see you on the summit floor. Leading change is one of the core skills we must acquire, but it is only one of the steps towards our success as Scrum Masters. Tomorrow, on Success Thursday, we will talk about how to define success for the Scrum Master role. We'll cover tips on how to measure your way to that position, and most importantly, how to develop that focus on continuous improvement that is as important for Scrum Masters as it is for teams. See you tomorrow.